So the purpose for meditation, and this is if we're doing a real meditation practice, there are a lot of practices under the title of meditation that you can do, but they're more concerned about relaxation, just relaxing down. And there's nothing wrong with becoming relaxed. It's very good for your health. But what it won't do is it won't change your life. It'll give you a release valve, but it won't actually change the way that your brain works. Meditation practice has the ability to rewire our brain. It literally rewires our brain. Go online and read up on neuroplasticity. There's so much research on that now. They've discovered now that our brains aren't fixed, that the neural pathways are growing depending on stimulation, that is, depending on our use. So every time we use a certain pathway, that pathway grows. The more we use it, right, the more efficient that pathway gets at sending information. Hence, when we develop habits, anything that's habitual means we're using that pathway again and again. Take driving a car, for instance. When you first started driving a car, it was a bit of a nightmare. Yeah, I remember nearly running into a telegraph pole with all my friends laughing their heads off in the back, because I didn't have that control. Now when I drive a car, I don't even have to think of where the hole is to put the key in the ignition. It just automatically goes in, turns. I automatically have the clutch pushed in when I do that. Where when I first started, I would turn it and the car would go dum dum. Yeah? So these are habitual patterns. But we can develop habitual ways of living our lives in lots of ways. Yeah? If I'm walking down the street and I see somebody begging for money and I mentally resist that, I'm developing a habitual pattern. I'm actually developing a neural pathway to do with generosity. Yeah? If I reach into my wallet, or you reach into your purse, and you take in some spare change and you give it to them, and you're thinking, I hope this helps you in some way, then you're developing a different pathway. If I hear a sound outside while we're trying to meditate, and I feel irritation comes up, if I identify with that irritation, right, if my thinking starts aligning with that, then what I'm doing is I'm developing another pathway, a pathway developed on aversion. So it's more likely in my life I'm going to experience aversion to things. I'm going to start disliking things and complaining mentally about things. If I practice that enough, I will start speaking my mind. I'll let you all know what I think about this and how upset I am with it. Again, I'm reinforcing that pathway. That means I'm more likely in my life to find things that are wrong with what's happening. If I practice that even more, I might even fly across the room and start beating you. How does that happen? I was watching a little bit. There was some people in jail and they were interviewing them, and there was a parole board, and one of them was asked, "Why did you attack this officer?" And he said, "I attacked him because I felt really angry." So to him that was an excuse or a reason for attacking. But the anger and the attack are two separate things. And this is what we do. We identify with those emotions and we act on them, but we don't have to. They're habitual pathways in our mind. The reason we experience them is because we've been practicing them in the past. In the same way, when we understand, we can practice opposite to that. Just because the emotion comes up, just because we feel irritated, doesn't mean that we have to act on it or we have to do anything. Right? Can any feeling actually make you do anything? Can it hurt you? Pleasant or unpleasant feelings can't hurt you. Yeah? Emotions can't hurt you. You can experience the emotion and just refuse to act on it. It can't make you do it. You're deciding to do it. Why? Usually because we enjoy it. People feel power when they're angry. They feel justified. They feel solid. But this is the same with anything. Sadly, this is the same with anxiety and depression and grief and stress and all these sort of things. They're habitual patterns of mind that we've practiced. And we can practice opposite ones. So how do we start to break this? Start doing the practice of being mindful of everything you like and everything you dislike. And this is not just in your seated practice. I want you to do this in everyday life. Every time you comment, it's like, I don't like this food. I like this food. Yeah? Yeah? Every time you walk in a room and you've got to adjust the temperature. It's too hot, too cold, too this, too that. Chair's too hard, chair's too soft. Yeah? Very interesting. I just come back from a cruise, and this practice is not meant to just be observing ourselves. You also observe others. For observing others, you get to understand yourself. And for observing yourself, you get to understand others. It was a 12-day or 12-night cruise, they called it. Spent that whole time observing people liking and disliking. Every week, life gives me something to talk about. I don't have to think about it, it just comes up. So a common conversation would go like this. We'd be in the next morning and someone would say, oh, what did you think of the show last night? And somebody would say, oh, or a couple would say, oh, didn't like it. Really didn't like it. It was really bad. We ended up getting up and walking out. It was terrible. And then another couple at the table would go, really? Oh, I really enjoyed it. It was so good. Oh, we thought it was fantastic. We had the best time. And then someone else would say, yeah, I had a really good time. And someone said, no, I don't really like that. And everybody's giving their opinion on whether they liked or disliked these shows. Everyone was at the same show, the same performers, but some people really didn't like it and some people liked it. What's going on there? Yeah? So when we like something or like it, we think it's set in stone. This is the way it is, but it's not. Yeah? Common thing would be the poor waiters. Common thing would be food would come out. Oh, these eggs are too runny. I don't like eggs runny like that. They should be this way. Take them back. You've got to make them the way that I like it. Oh, I like special bread. I don't eat this normal wheat bread. I need some special bread. You know, oh, this is butter. It's a different colour to the butter that I have at home. The butter I normally have is yellow, and this is white. I want yellow butter. You know, and it goes on and on and on and on. And the amount of food and the service is just crazy. It's just crazy on these ships. You feel so special, right? But people just complain. They're just complaining. The staff just can't do enough for them. And they forget these staff are working like, oh God, I don't know, it's got to be 16-hour days. And they work for 7 months straight without a break. Yeah, that's what they're doing. They're basically hotbedding. So as one person gets out of bed, the other one's jumping into it. Yeah, but no gratitude. But it's very interesting, likes and dislikes. So start watching yourself when we start complaining about these things. The reason is when we start mumbling in our head what we like and what we dislike, we're actually acting to that pleasant or unpleasant feeling tone I've talked about before, right? Remember I've mentioned that the karmic seed of reacting to anything is a pleasant or unpleasant feeling tone. So if I see something for the first time and I like it or I enjoy it, if I mentally grab onto that, the next time I experience something similar, this pleasant feeling tone will come up and I'll feel attracted to that pleasant feeling and want to get more of it. Every time I'm attracted to and want more, I'm planting another seed, and that seed's got the potential of ripening. Something triggers it off in the future. And that's the same with unpleasant. If I react to something has affected me, and I've reacted to it with aversion, I've planted a seed that means when I experience that again, it will feel unpleasant next time I have it. The more I react on it, the more potential of these unpleasant feeling tone seeds ripening, and the unpleasantness will get higher and higher and higher and higher. Yeah, this is the fruit, the karmic fruit of reacting to things, and we're reacting to stuff in every moment we're planting these seeds. Every time we react, every time you scratch an itch, you're planting a seed, right? So we can't avoid a lot of that at this stage. We can get past it eventually in the practice, but at first we can't. These seeds will still be there even if you're not liking or disliking. They'll still come up. But the liking or disliking is easier to see than this pleasant or unpleasant. Watch the mumbling in your head, judging, this is good, this is bad, this is beautiful, this is pretty. I find my mind going, oh, this, I see a pretty girl, oh, so pretty, so pretty, so pretty. You get this mumbling back. It's not like a full thought, you know. You see something else you don't like, oh, I don't like that, I don't, you know. Yeah, it's going on all the time. If you catch it at this point here and just see it for what it is, just mumblings in the head, right, and ignore it, and if you don't like it, just do it anyway. If you like it, you don't have to have it. You're not going to suffer because you don't have it. Yeah? And watch that. What you'll do is you'll cut off the process and you won't be planting any more seeds. This is the trick. So in watching that, it then, if you watch the likes or dislikes, you're catching it before that desire to get something or the desire to run away from it comes up. And then from that desire comes the longing or the aversion, depending whether it's lusting after or it's grabbing on or it's pushing away. And then after that comes the thinking cycle, and after that comes the emotions. Now, generally we try to work with these things at the level of emotions and thinking. It's too late. It's too late. You've got to get things at the root cause. If you want to remove a tree from the garden, you don't cut off the branches and the leaves. You've got to remove the root. And the root is very subtle. Yeah? But this is something we can do in our everyday life. We can watch that, and it's very interesting. Now, this doesn't mean that if something's pleasant and you want to enjoy it, you can't enjoy it. Enjoy it. But what I want you to know why you're enjoying it. You're enjoying it because it's pleasant. You're not enjoying it because of the thing. It's not the actual thing that is pleasant. The pleasant is your relationship to that thing. Whether that's to a person, whether that's to an activity, whether that's to a food. You're not eating that bit of cake because the cake is nice. You're eating the bit of cake because when eating that cake gives you a pleasant feeling. And the pleasant feeling is in you, it's not in the cake. The pleasant feeling is not in another person, it's in you. And that's why we can be in relationships and we can just be floating in love, beautiful, wow, this person is the best thing in the world. Suddenly when they're not giving us that pleasant feeling anymore, suddenly, oh, it's all fallen apart, they mustn't be doing whatever they're supposed to do to give me that pleasant feeling anymore, so I'll find someone else who can give it to me. But when we understand the pleasant feeling is inside us, then we understand that it's not the other person's job to give us that pleasant feeling. That the pleasant feeling is our relationship to them. And if that pleasant feeling is dying in our relationship to them, then what we do is we need to reapply our attention to them and be more attentive to them. And in that, right, and turn our attention away from what we see as unpleasant about them, start turning it towards what is pleasant about them, and then the pleasant feeling will start arising and we'll all be in love and floaty again. But what I'm trying to give you here is power. There's a difference between doing something out of habit and a difference between being able to control, right, what you're doing, right? We have very minimum control, but what we can do is we can actually change our relationships. We can actually intentionally alter that. And that's what gives you freedom. So when you do that, when you observe these likes and dislikes, suddenly what you can do is you can change your happiness in everyday life. Because the mindfulness, right, being mindful, that means knowing what is happening right now, right, allows your awareness to grow so that you can be conscious of what is happening. When you're conscious of what's happening, you can choose then whether to react to that karmic fruit or not. But if you choose to react to it, you do so, right, through your own choice, not through it just dragging you off into it. And so if we say had unpleasant mind states come up, say anxiety, right? As soon as those feelings start, the sense contact comes up, as soon as those feelings start to come up, we'll start disliking it, won't we? First thing, start looking at the disliking. The disliking will turn into mumbling about it, will turn into fear. Then you'll start being scared of the anxiety, which will feed it. Yeah. Next thing, once you start looking at that dislike of it, then start to look at the unpleasant feeling of it. And understanding the unpleasant feeling is separate from the sensations you're feeling in your body, the constriction and all that sort of thing, and the change breathing. When you do that, know that these sensations and the unpleasantness cannot hurt you. It can scream, it can shout, it can jump, it can do whatever it wants. It can't make you do anything. Once you have that power, then breathe gently, deeply, like we did in the first meditation practice today, the letting go meditation. And relax, let go. But don't concentrate on the anxiety anymore, be aware of it. What you do is you concentrate on dropping the resistance to the anxiety. So you don't want the anxiety to go, you're just dropping or softening your resistance to it. When you soften your resistance to it, you are not participating in it and you'll find it will go away. But if you try to make it go away, that's coming out of fear. You're actually planting more seeds and you're actually going to strengthen the anxiety. So what you want to do is you want to soften into it, become it, and know it can't actually hurt you. Now, if it happens to you a lot and it's really strong, the reason it's strong is because you've put a lot of practice in. Like if I do a lot of bike riding, I want to become good at it, don't I? I do. If I go bike riding every day, I'm going to become really good. I might even go into Tour de France or something like that. Because I'll get good at it. I get very, very fit at bike riding. If I practice being anxious every day, if every time my anxiety comes up, I look for a reason for it to be there, I believe the whole thought patterns around it, I believe that I have to do something because it's there, and I'm becoming really fit and really healthy at being anxious. Yeah, I'll become really good. I might be able to go in the anxiety Olympics or something like that, if there's such a thing. What you do in the anxiety Olympics, you all go at the starting line, right? And you all have your backs turned to where you run, and then suddenly what they do is they put something in front of you that will really freak you out. And then you see that, you build the anxiety up like revving the engine up on a car, and then they turn you around and they go, run! And you go, whoo, over the other end. And the one who's got the strongest anxiety gets over the finishing line first. We could do that, couldn't we? So we practice it. I know I keep giving this message all the time, but this is what gives you the power. You can choose what you practice. Yeah? So when something comes up and the karmic fruit comes up and it tries to make you act, and it will do that through an unpleasant feeling or a pleasant feeling, which will manifest as liking or disliking, right? If your mindfulness is present, you'll have a choice whether to just say, no, not really interested, thanks, or yeah, okay, I'll do that. But at least you'll have a choice. Just know that unpleasantness cannot hurt you. Pleasantness cannot hurt you if you don't do anything either. Keep looking at that. Once you understand that, you'll suddenly have the power to change those neural pathways in your brain. And you can actually wire them in any way you want. Remember, like I always say, this moment just here is fixed, but your relationship to it is not fixed. You cannot change this moment, but you can change your relationship to it. Your relationship to it is what wires the pathways in our brain. So you can choose how you relate to it. In choosing how you relate to it, you're actually choosing what type of person you want to create. So each moment is actually a blank slate. Don't worry about this stuff they tell you, oh, your past is important, go through your past, blah, blah, blah. Look at, I don't know, maybe it is, I don't know. I'm someone who doesn't have a past. I live without a past. Once I walk out of this classroom, it won't exist. Right? You don't need a past. Every time you're dwelling in the past, what's happening right now is just being wasted. It's always getting handed a brand new moment. Continuously. It's always new. It's always new. If we turn our attention and waste our time with something that's already happened, then we miss what's happening right now. Does that make sense? Yeah. So don't think I'm a depressed person, I'm an anxious person, I'm a whatever person, I'm not a generous person or whatever. You're whatever person you want to be right now. Whatever you want to be, just do it right now. You want to be generous? Be generous. That's what you wire your brain to be. You want to be loving and caring? Go up and start hugging people. Helping people when you see they need help. And that's the type of person you're creating. You know, you want to be an angry, violent person, then practice that. Whatever you practice is what you're becoming. Every moment. But every moment is blank. The past does not exist other than something that is conditioned right now. But right now, our relationship is open all the time. And that's what we're learning in this practice. That's what we're learning to do. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do mindfulness of breathing meditation. And the same thing, it's trying to train us with this. What we'll do is use simple labelling as we're watching the breathing. As you breathe in, just quiet mentally say to yourself, in, in. As you breathe out, out, out. Now the breathing is wherever the sensations are most obvious to you. This could be in your abdomen, yeah? This could be at the tip of the nose, could be the chest, back, it doesn't matter. There's sensations there. There's sensations or movement somewhere. Just follow that, in, out, out. When your attention wanders, which it will, don't fight it. I want you just to follow where your attention wanders. If it goes out to a sound, just use a mental label, oh, hearing, hearing. If you don't like the sound, disliking, disliking. If you're listening to somebody's conversation, listening, listening. If you don't agree with what they're saying, not agreeing, not agreeing. Then come back to the breath. If you suddenly find you're off thinking, don't get upset, doesn't matter, that's what the mind does. Thinking, thinking. If you're planning what you're doing after this class, planning, planning, yeah? If you're confused on what to do, confused, confused. If you're sleepy, sleepy, sleepy. It doesn't matter what it is. Your job is to know, because you're learning about yourself. And how else can you do that unless you watch? So using these labels makes it very clear in your mind, right, how your brain works. And through that, you get to understand the fine wiring within it, and then you know what you can change. If you want to change it, maybe you're perfect already, but we'll take a look at that. Yeah. I know I am.